Welcome to my channel Tech Set Go. Apple has built a reputation on consistency. For years, you could almost set your calendar by their product releases. A new iPhone every fall, a MacBook refresh almost every year, usually with the latest Apple silicon chip inside. It's predictable, it's calculated, and it keeps the Apple hype machine running at full speed. But in 2025, that rhythm is breaking, not bending, breaking. For the first time in recent memory, there will be no new MacBook Pro, no MacBook Air with the latest chip in the calendar year. The much-anticipated M5 generation has been pushed back. According to reliable sources, it won't arrive until early 2026. That's a delay that's hard to ignore. Why is it such a big deal? It's because Apple almost never skips a year on a flagship product, unless something important is happening behind the scenes. Think about it. They released the M1 Pro and M1 Max in late 2021. Then the M2 Pro and Max arrived in early 2023. The M3 Pro and Max late 2024. See the pattern? Every 12 to 14 months without fail, a new generation lands, until now. So what's going on? The leaks point to two main reasons: strategy and design. Strategy because Apple is making a deliberate choice to pause instead of pushing out a modest upgrade. Design because there's a much bigger change in the works. One they don't want to rush. Let's talk about that strategy first. Skipping a year could actually work in Apple's favor. It avoids flooding the market with a minor update that most users wouldn't notice. And it gives them time to refine the next real leap forward. Instead of dropping the M5 in late 2025, the plan now is early 2026. And that's not all. 2026 could even see two MacBook Pro launches in the same year. How? Scenario 1. Apple releases the M5 MacBook Pro in January or February. Then later in the year, they unveil a redesigned version, possibly with the M6 chip, bringing the long-rumored old display and new chassis. Scenario 2. They hold the redesign entirely until 2027, pairing it directly with the M6. Both paths are possible, and Apple has pulled moves like this before. Remember 2023? They launched the M2 Pro and Max MacBook Pros in January. Just 10 months later in October, the M3 lineup arrived. And if you go back further, the original 6-9-in Intel MacBook Pro came out just months after the last 15-in refresh. So Apple doubling up isn't impossible, it's rare, but not impossible. Add about that redesign. This isn't a small tweak. It's a bigger shift than we've seen in over a decade. We're talking old displays, replacing mini-LED, a thinner and lighter chassis, and re-engineered internals. Old would be the star here. It's brighter, it's more power efficient, and it delivers deeper blacks and more accurate colors than mini-LED can manage. But Apple isn't just swapping screens. We're aiming for a slimmer overall build without sacrificing performance. And that's where the engineering challenge comes in. For longtime MacBook fans, the word thin can be a little scary. We remember 2016 all too well. The butterfly keyboard era, the missing ports, the overheating issues, all in the name of shaving a few millimeters off the profile. But this time, Apple's approach looks different. First, Apple's silicon chips run much cooler than Intel's processors ever did. That means less space is needed for heavy-duty cooling systems. Second, old panels are naturally slimmer than mini-LED assemblies. And third, Apple's working with silicon carbon battery technology. That means more power storage and smaller cells. Put those three together, and you can make a thinner laptop without the same trade-offs we saw before. The result? Potentially a MacBook Pro that's lighter, more portable, and still delivers long battery life. Maybe even longer than current models. And for professionals, the old screen alone could be transformative. Higher brightness for outdoor work, better contrast for color grading, lower power draw for all-day use, and with new double-stacked old tech. Longer display lifespan, and less risk of burn-in over time. But while we wait for that, something else interesting came out of the leaks. The M3 Ultra MacBook prototype. This was never meant for public release. It was an internal test machine, and by all accounts, it was a monster. Double the core count of the M4 Max. Unmatched performance potential, but also too hot and too power-hungry for today's MacBook designs. That's why it hasn't launched yet. The redesigned chassis might be the missing piece that makes something like a MacBook Pro Ultra possible. And if Apple follows the trend they set with the iPhone Ultra and Watch Ultra, it's not a far-fetched idea. Imagine a $10,000 MacBook aimed squarely at high-end creative professionals, developers, and scientists. It sounds extreme, but so did a $3,500 headset before the Vision Pro came along. Of course, for most people, the M5 delay isn't a tragedy. In fact, it might be good news for your wallet. When 2025 rolls around, the M3 and M4 MacBook Pros will still be extremely capable machines, and they'll likely be heavily discounted, both from third-party sellers and Apple's own refurbished, iStore, casual users, and even many professionals. Those deals could be the smartest option. If you're a heavy-duty pro who needs the best of the best, waiting for the old redesign might be worth it. And if you're chasing absolute maximum performance, your eyes should be on the M6 and possible ultra-tier machines. The M5, especially if it arrives in a plain pre-redesigned form, might not offer enough of a leap to justify paying full launch price. Then there's the noise about the Touch Bar making a comeback. Some fans love the idea, others not so much. The reality, Apple seems fully committed to the physical function key. It's simpler, it's more reliable, and it's what pros prefer. Unless Apple dives into foldable or dual-screen MacBooks, don't expect the Touch Bar to return in the M5 era. So here's where we stand. No M5 MacBooks in 2025. Early 2026 launches the plan. Old redesign could arrive with M5 later in 2026, or be held for M6 in 2027, possible double launch year. Discounts on M3, M4 models. In the meantime, when a company like Apple changes its product cycle, it's never random. They don't wake up one day and decide, let's skip a year. Every move is calculated. Every pause, every delay, every leak, all part of a much larger plan. So, the question is, why now? Why would Apple, at the height of its MacBook Pro success, take its foot off the gas? Let's start with competition. Apple's dominance in the TCO, high-end laptop space is real, but it's not absolute. Companies like Dell, Asus, HP, and Lenovo have been stepping up their game. We're seeing old laptops from competitors, thinner designs, and big improvements in battery life from Windows machines powered by ARM-based chips.